Well, folks, buckle up, because it's time for another roller coaster ride through the economic circus that is Boss Economics World. I'm your host, the guy who's here to call out the clowns in suits running our economies into the ground while pretending they're innovating our way to prosperity. Today, we're diving headfirst into the shiny, high-speed world of trains, yes, trains, and how this so-called game changer in Europe is actually a masterclass in government mismanagement, corporate greed, and economic fairy tales. So, grab your overpriced Eurostar ticket and let's get rolling. Oh, the headlines are buzzing, aren't they? Direct high-speed trains from London to Cologne, Lyon, Frankfurt, and Geneva are on the horizon, screams the latest press release, courtesy of the UK's Office for Rail and Road. The Channel Tunnel, that underwater marvel of engineering, is apparently ready to double its weekly train traffic from 500 to 1,000, and Virgin, yes, that Virgin, is popping champagne, declaring, no more major hurdles to new services. Sounds like a dream, right? Faster, greener travel across Europe, fewer planes clogging the skies, and a chance to sip a cappuccino in Geneva without the guilt of a carbon footprint. But hold your applause, folks, because this so-called progress is a textbook case of governments and corporations papering over the cracks of a crumbling economic system while selling us a fantasy of convenience. Let's break it down, layer by layer, from the shiny surface to the rotten core. On the surface, this expansion sounds like a win for everyone. Direct trains to Cologne in under 4 hours, Geneva in 5, and no more schlepping across Paris with your luggage to change stations. Eurotunnel, the private company that owns the Channel Tunnel, is salivating at the prospect of doubling its traffic, and companies like Germany's Deutsche Bahn, Spain's Renfe, and even the mysterious newbie Evelyn are itching to jump on board. More competition, more trains, more choices, sounds like capitalism at its finest, right? Wrong. Let's start with the basics. This isn't about convenience, it's about profit. Eurostar, the only company currently running cross-channel services, has been named, drumroll, please, Europe's worst-performing train operator in 2023, according to a damning report by the European Transport Commission. Low scores for reliability, sky-high prices, and customer service that makes a budget airline look like a 5-star hotel. And now, they want us to believe that adding more destinations will magically fix this mess. Come on, folks, this is like putting lipstick on a pig and calling it a supermodel. And let's talk about those prices. Eurostar tickets are already notorious for being pricier than flights unless you book months in advance, sometimes up to 200% more expensive than a budget airline, according to a 2024 study by which? Travel. Want to hop on a train to Paris tomorrow? That'll be £250, please, compared to £50 on Ryanair. Sure, trains are greener, but how many environmentally conscious passengers can actually afford to care when their wallets are being bled dry? This expansion isn't about making travel accessible, it's about squeezing more revenue out of a captive market of business travelers and eco-warriors who have no other choice. Now, let's dig a little deeper into the environmental angle, because this is where the PR machine goes into overdrive. The expansion is being sold as part of a Europe-wide push to reduce short-haul flights, and boy, do governments love to pat themselves on the back for this one. France banned domestic flights in 2023 for routes with a rail alternative under 2.5 hours, Austria slapped a €30 tax on short flights, and Stockholm city employees are banned from flying if a train can get them there in 5 hours. Sounds progressive, right? But here's the dirty little secret, this is greenwashing on steroids. First, let's look at the numbers. According to the European Environment Agency, aviation accounts for just 3.8% of total EU greenhouse gas emissions as of 2024, while road transport accounts for a whopping 71%. So why are governments obsessing over planes instead of, say, electrifying their trucking fleets or subsidizing electric cars? Because it's easier to slap a ban on flights and call it a win than to tackle the real polluters. And here's the kicker, even if every single short-haul flight in Europe were replaced by a train, the reduction in emissions would be negligible compared to the systemic issues plaguing the economy, like the fact that global fossil fuel subsidies hit a record $7 trillion in 2023, according to the IMF. That's right, folks, while governments are busy banning flights, they're funneling trillions into propping up oil and gas. But sure, let's all celebrate a new train to Cologne as if it's going to save the planet. Oh, and let's not forget the elephant in the room, the Channel Tunnel itself. This marvel of engineering is owned by Eurotunnel, a private company that's been raking in record profits, Euro 1.2 billion in 2024 alone, up 15% from the previous year, according to their latest earnings report. Meanwhile, passengers are stuck in overcrowded lounges, facing airport-style security checks, and paying through the nose for the privilege. If governments were serious about green travel, they'd nationalize the tunnel, slash ticket prices, and invest in truly sustainable infrastructure. But no, that would require actual leadership, not just PR stunts. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter, the government's role in this economic farce. The UK's Office for Rail and Road released a report on April 1, 2025, proudly declaring that the East London depot has potential space to store more trains. Wow, groundbreaking stuff, folks. After decades of underinvestment in rail, they've finally figured out that there's room for a few more carriages. Give these bureaucrats a medal. But here's the real story: this is a classic case of too little, too late. The UK rail network has been in crisis for years, with fares rising almost twice as fast as wages since 2010, according to the UK's Transport Focus. Reliability is at an all-time low, with 14% of trains delayed by more than 15 minutes in 2024, per Network Rail data. And let's not even get started on the privatization disaster that's left taxpayers footing the bill for failing private operators, £3.5 billion in bailouts since 2020, according to the National Audit Office. Meanwhile, across the Channel, European governments are no better. Germany's Deutsche Bahn, which wants a piece of the Channel Tunnel pie, is facing its own crisis, with a €30 billion infrastructure backlog and punctuality rates dropping to 64% in 2024, per their own annual report. Spain's Renfe? They're still recovering from a €6 billion debt pile racked up during the pandemic. And yet, these governments have the gall to tell us that a few new train routes will fix everything. This isn't progress, it's a distraction. While they're busy hyping up high-speed trains, the real economic issues, stagnant wages, soaring inequality, and a cost of living crisis, are being swept under the rug. In the UK, real wages have flatlined since 2008, with the average worker £14,000 worse off annually, according to the Resolution Foundation. In the EU, 95 million people, 21% of the population, are at risk of poverty or social exclusion, per Eurostat's 2024 data. But sure, let's all celebrate a shiny new train to Frankfurt while millions struggle to pay their bills. Step back, folks, and look at the bigger picture. This train expansion isn't just a transport story, it's a symptom of a deeper economic disease. Governments and corporations are desperate to prop up the illusion of growth in an economy that's teetering on the edge of recession. The Eurozone's GDP growth slowed to a measly 0.6% in 2024, per the European Central Bank, while the UK is projected to stagnate at 0.4% in 2025, according to the IMF. Inflation remains stubbornly high, 4.1% in the EU and 5.2% in the UK as of March 2025, per Eurostat and the ONS, respectively, eroding purchasing power and driving up inequality. And what's their solution? More grand projects, more hype, more debt. The Channel Tunnel expansion is just one piece of a broader pattern of governments throwing money at shiny distractions while ignoring systemic rot. Look at the UK's HS2 project, a high-speed rail line that's ballooned to £100 billion in costs, double the original estimate, while delivering half the promised benefits, according to a 2024 Public Accounts Committee report. Or take France's €50 billion Grand Paris Express metro project, plagued by delays and cost overruns, yet hailed as a game-changer for the economy. This is the economic playbook of the 21st century, folks: promise the moon, deliver a landfill, and let taxpayers foot the bill. And all the while, the real winners are the corporate giants like Eurotunnel, raking in billions while ordinary people are left with crumbling services and empty wallets. So, there you have it, folks, another chapter in the never-ending saga of economic mismanagement, corporate greed, and government incompetence. This high-speed train expansion isn't a solution, it's a symptom of a broken system that prioritizes PR over people, profits over progress, and hype over reality. If we want real change, we need to stop falling for these shiny distractions and start demanding accountability. Nationalize the rails/fares, invest in actual green infrastructure, and tackle the root causes of our economic woes: inequality, underinvestment, and corporate cronyism. Until then, enjoy your £250 train to Cologne, folks, just don't expect it to arrive on time. This is Boss Economics World, calling out the clowns in charge, one economic farce at a time. Smash that like button, share this video, and let's keep shining a light on the madness. See you next time.